Let's jump into Trump and DeSantis. This rivalry has exploded on social media, despite DeSantis not having announced he's running. Both sides seem to be digging in real deep. It's kind of this all or nothing attitude towards both men. And I just see a lot of pearl clutching and hand wringing going on right now about how Trump shouldn't be attacking other Republican candidates or potential candidates. And it seems most people have forgotten how heated and intense the 2016 primaries were. And the truth is, Trump attacked all the candidates back then. And I went back and I researched this because I forgot some of the details. And I was just cracking up, being reminded of all this because he mocked Rand Paul's hair. He said Carly Fiorina had a horse face, that Ben Carson had a pathological temper, and mocked him over allegedly stabbing or trying to stab his friend with a knife when he was young. He made fun of Ted Cruz's wife Heidi's appearance and even spoke about some conspiracy theory about how Ted's dad was somehow involved in the assassination of JFK. We all remember little Marco. So, it's kind of like, make no mistake, the 2016 primaries was a literal cage match, and it got really ugly. And I personally don't see anything wrong with it. American politics has always been smash mouth politics, and it's par for the course. But for those out there who are crying the blues over what Trump is doing, please explain why this has always been the way we've done things in American politics, why it's a good thing, and give us some historical perspective as well, why this kind of intensity during the primaries is A, nothing new, and B, very healthy.
Well, American politics, I would say, went through kind of a kinder, gentler era of about 10 years, 15 years, from about Ford until H.W. Bush, maybe Clinton. But other than that time, it's been a pretty brutal, almost blood sport. You go back in the early 1800s, I have a record of two legislators on the floor of the Arkansas House that got in such a heated argument. The one guy produced a Bowie knife and gutted the other guy right there in the House. I have a record of this guy walking into President Monroe's residence, and they disagreed about something so vehemently, the guy started to reach for his walking cane, and Monroe reached for the fireplace tongs. And they were calling each other names. He says, "Get out of here, you scoundrel, or I'll call for the servants to have you removed." And of course, people packed on the very floor of the U.S. Senate well up until the Civil War. And there's the very famous episode of Preston Brooks, congressman, walking into the Senate and coming up to Senator Charles Sumner, who's sitting at his seat, and just beat him so badly he was hospitalized for weeks, almost killed him. In terms of more recent stuff, Trump went after all those guys. They all went after him. The difference is, I think, and this goes to DeSantis as well, they all more or less had surrogates in the press that, because they all hated Trump, they could go to some surrogate and leak out some information or some comment about Trump or some claim, and he had to respond himself. He couldn't go through the press and have MSNBC say, "Well, some say Ted Cruz's wife is tied up with Goldman Sachs." That didn't work. And so the same thing has occurred here with DeSantis. DeSantis structured his campaign, which he knew he was running from several months ago. The evidence has now come out that he knew he was running. This is not a recent thing. And he set it up so that he would be up here, and he would let all the surrogates attack Trump down here on Twitter, wherever else, mostly over the record on vaxes. Oh, Trump is proud of the vax and warp speed and trying to kill everybody. That was one thing. And the other main thing is Trump's temperament and his his volatility and always putting his foot in his mouth and stepping on himself and all this kind of stuff. And what's interesting about that is DeSantis had tried to set himself up here as a pious, holier than thou guy who doesn't get down into the mud. And so I didn't understand it at first when Trump used the term desanctimonious. Why is he using that term? And folks, if you don't know anything else about Trump, understand that he knows what he's doing all the time. That he has a goal. It may not be the right goal, but he has a goal of what he wants to do. And he understood that DeSantis was trying to run this holier than thou pious campaign. Oh, I don't get into the mud with people. But of course, his surrogates were totally in the mud. So by using the DeSanctimonious, and then he framed him just like he did with little Marco, sweaty little man. I'll never forget, I got retweeted for saying somebody needs to bring sweaty little man a bottle of water. Trump retweeted that. But, same thing with low energy Yeb. He took Jeb Bush out with one comment in the first debate. It was really remarkable. So what's this all about? Well, Trump goaded DeSantis into a bunch of key mistakes. First mistake, he got DeSantis to see all the energy on the right is against the Uke war. There's a few neocons, but I'd say it's probably 70-30 against the Uke war, something like that. And so DeSantis felt pushed to come out and make that comment that it was a territorial dispute, a border dispute. And of course, the neocons jumped on him with both feet, and he had to recant that within a week. So Trump got him two ways. He got him, first of all, split from the neocons, and then he got him to appear as a flip-flopper behind all of the Trumpers. The second thing he did was to provoke DeSantis to make this comment about the Manhattan DA, where he had to throw in that I don't know anything about bribing a porn star. He would have been just fine if he'd made his comment. It wouldn't have satisfied me because it's very clear that DeSantis was trying to attack the weaponization of the entire legal system, but somehow keep it apart from Trump. You cannot do that. The whole structure is allied against one man. It reminds me of Europe in 1814, with the entire European continent aligned against Napoleon. And so by then not just leaving Trump out, but by making the porn star comment, DeSantis got in the mud. And so it took Trump about 2 weeks for the DeSanctimonious to really make sense, to where, all right, he's already got him down in the mud. He can never get back on that high, oh, I will beat Trump, but without all the garbage and without all the sleaziness.
Right.
Too late. That's gone.